Angelo, and I'm a former showman at the Central Florida Fair and one of the founding members of the Fair's Junior Board. I was really hoping to be there today to speak with y'all in person. However, due to circumstances that were beyond my control, I wasn't able to do that. However, I still wanted to take the opportunity to speak with y'all and share my experiences and opinion in agriculture and STEM specifically with y'all today. So I made this quick video, and I apologize if I speak really fast or stumble over some words, but I'm going to do the best I can. And so, a little bit about myself. I grew up in a small town called DeLand, Florida. For those of you who don't know where that's at, it's 15 minutes east of Daytona Beach along the west of Daytona Beach along the I-4 corridor. And I was born and raised there, but I didn't have the opportunity, I wasn't blessed enough to grow up on a farm or around agriculture. My dad is a general contractor, and my mother works in the criminal justice system. And so I actually found agriculture through my middle school's 4-H club. When I was in 6th grade, I just happened to be watching the school's morning announcements, and they were talking about showing livestock at the county fair, and I happened to know some of the kids who were featured in the newscast. And so it said if you were interested in showing one next year to contact the school's 4-H leader. And so I contacted Miss Lori Smith, the school's 4-H leader, and the next year she set me up with a pig to show at county fair. And it was all downhill from there. It grew from just that one pig to a whole family affair with my brothers, my sister, my stepbrother, my mom, dad, everybody. And it's really something we enjoy because we still show livestock at the fairs 11 years later. And showing livestock led me to the Central Florida Fair. And I've always appreciated the Central Florida Fair, not only for the level of competitiveness, but also the camaraderie and friendships I've been able to make and the mentorships that I've received through the fair. And so I really value those relationships that I've built. But my experiences in 4-H and FFA and showing at the Central Florida Fair and other fairs really influenced my life in ways that I couldn't imagine. I'm a first-generation college student, and so when the decision came to figure out what I wanted to major in for college, I chose food and research economics, and so I attended Santa Fe College. I got my AA and FRE, and after I did that, I transferred to the University of Florida, where I received my bachelor's in agricultural communications and leadership development with a minor in management and sales in agribusiness. I'm sorry, it's kind of a mouthful, but a little bit about how I got to Kansas. It was my senior year in college. I was finishing up my bachelor's, and I had a decision to make. I could either go into the industry and start my career now, or I could continue my education and not only be the first in my family to receive their associate's degree and their bachelor's, but also be the first person in my family to receive their master's and maybe one day a PhD. And so when the opportunity here at Kansas State University came open and available to study under Dr. Jason Ellis, I jumped at the opportunity and decided at the last second to move 1,300 miles away, halfway across the country, to a totally different part of the country that I never lived in before. I haven't regretted the decision at all. It's been a great opportunity up here. And a little bit about what I do up here. I'm a full-time graduate student studying agricultural communications and journalism, working on my master's. And I'm also a graduate teaching assistant and a graduate research assistant. And so I teach videography and graphic design courses to undergrads here in the department. And I also do research on a multi-institutional grant funded by the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And so our research grant is looking into gene technologies as a viable long-term solution to a disease that is affecting citrus growers called citrus greening. And so it affects a lot of citrus growers in Florida and is really a big problem. It basically starves the tree of nutrients. And so we're looking at not necessarily genetically modifying trees or the insects or bacteria, but how we can use DNA to stop the process of it spreading and hopefully stop the disease from affecting trees and producers further. And so what my role is on the grant is I focus on consumer and producer outreach research and how we can communicate better with producers and consumers about the technology and foster a greater acceptance rate of the technology as it relates to food production. And so growing up, I didn't really understand how much science, technology, engineering, and math were in agriculture. I didn't understand how diverse the career opportunities are in ag. And maybe that's just because I was the average consumer that's so far 2 or 3 generations removed from the farm. I didn't grow up on a farm, and I didn't know anything about it until I joined 4-H and FFA. As I grew up, I didn't realize at the time, but now looking back, I realized how applicable STEM was to what I was doing in FFA, whether it was competing on the FFA Ag Mechanics team or the environmental science competition, or even just calculating my steer's average daily weight of gain so I knew how much he was going to weigh when he got to the fair. It is so applicable to what we did. And even now, those skills have followed me into my graduate studies, whether it's using the science and communicating with the scientists and genomists about genetic engineering and mRNA and polypeptides and the whole process, and taking those terms, that technology and that science, and turning it into layman's terms that I can talk to and communicate with the consumers about, or teaching the advanced video equipment or the graphic design software to undergrads, or even just using statistical data analysis software to run data analysis on my research. STEM still is applicable in my everyday life, even though I'm in a career field that many don't think involves a lot of STEM. And so I'm really been blessed with the opportunities that I've received, not only here at Kansas State, but in general with agriculture in my life. But I really recommend anybody who's thinking about pursuing a career in ag to consider it. You don't have to just be a farmer or even just a communicator. You can be you can grow corn or wheat, and a lot of people don't understand that even just simple stuff as that isn't really that simple, or growing pigs and cows or a dairy farm isn't really that simple. There's a lot of science, technology, engineering, and math involved in that. But there's also other career opportunities outside of that. You could be a mechanic for a John Deere, or be a wheat breeder for university, or work as a chemical sales rep for Syngenta. There are so many opportunities that are available, and it's so diverse. And so I really encourage anybody, whether you're a high school senior or a 40-something-year-old that's going back to college and thinking about a career for change, to consider a career in agriculture, because it's so diverse. There's so many opportunities, and it's so much different than the average consumer perceives, because the average consumer perceives farming to be this antiquated image with mom and pa out on the farm raising corn and having a few cows and chickens and pigs and stuff and living life out there uneducated. But agriculture is so advanced and so heavily reliant on STEM to not only feed our current population, but also feed our growing population as we advance to 9 billion people by 2050. And so I really encourage you to consider a career in ag and really connect back with agriculture, because our generation is so, and our society is so far removed from ag, to really take the opportunity to connect back with it and learn more about where your food comes from. And so these are just a little bit of my thoughts on STEM and agriculture and how the two are interrelated. I appreciate all of you allowing me to take the time to speak with y'all today. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. If you ask Stacy for my number or my email, I'm sure she'll be able to give it to you. But I appreciate speaking with y'all today, and God bless. Y'all have a great day.